Marjorie Taylor Greene's exit from Congress was never going to be her final act. She's far too media savvy to simply fade away. But what she's doing now is creating a serious headache for Donald Trump. Greene is pursuing something Trump desperately wants buried: the Epstein files. This isn't about recycling old headlines. She's exposing how conversations around these documents have been actively censored across major social media platforms. People weren't just discouraged from discussing them. According to Greene, they were outright blocked from even raising questions. What sets this apart is Greene's approach. She's releasing messages that were allegedly suppressed, content that platforms refuse to allow through their systems. These aren't vague accusations. She's providing receipts. The story begins with Robert Garcia's reaction to Greene's parting statement about the Epstein files as she left Congress. His response reveals just how high the stakes really are.
Former colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene on this committee reported that Trump told her that he wanted to continue his cover-up because, quote, "my friends will get hurt." Donald Trump is leading a White House cover-up right now of the Epstein files. And we all know that Epstein himself said that Donald Trump was his best friend for over 10 years. And it is shameful, illegal, and unconstitutional that the Department of Justice has released 1% of the files. 1% of the files. Where is the pressure to get Pam Bondi to release the files? Instead, you're focused, and the committee's focused, on whoever you perceive to be your enemies and the enemies of Donald Trump. Because let's be clear, we want to talk to President Bill Clinton. We want him to answer our questions. We also want Ghislaine Maxwell to answer our questions. We also want to understand why Pam Bondi refuses to release all the files. 1% of the files have released. Millions have been left. No publications for weeks. That is a crime. And so this White House cover-up continues every single day that the files are not released. And yet, where are those calls, Mr. Comer? You're saying they're complying. That is both a lie and shameful.
Details about the Epstein files keep surfacing despite efforts to contain them. Here's the uncomfortable truth. What's missing from those files might be more damaging than what's actually in them. If Trump orchestrated a cover-up across both terms, we need to ask what he's protecting and who he's protecting. Garcia's comment about what Trump told Greene is particularly damning. Trump allegedly said releasing everything would hurt his friends on that list. This morning we covered Ghislaine Maxwell's court filing. It names 3 co-conspirators and 25 people who paid Epstein for silence. That's not speculation, that's in court documents. Despite Trump's containment efforts, information keeps leaking. So here's the real issue. Can we trust anything Pam Bondi eventually releases? After all these missed deadlines and stalling tactics, will those files be complete and unaltered? Or are we getting a carefully edited version designed to shield the powerful? That's exactly what Greene is questioning. That's why this matters. Thomas Massie raised the same concern, and his perspective is worth hearing.
The Justice Department to comply with the law. Why not?
Well, it's not a matter of opinion now. They're not in compliance with the law. They've missed 2 deadlines. The first was a 30-day deadline to release material to the public, and the second was a 15-day deadline to release some information to Congress. But what I'm concerned about is not the volume of material that they haven't released. It's specific documents they haven't given us where we know there are individuals who will be named. They're withholding those documents. Also, we believe they're over-redacting the files in contravention of the law, the letter.
Trust is completely gone at this point. I don't want to automatically reject every piece of evidence or let skepticism shut down real conversations about these files, but seriously, how can we believe anything from this DOJ anymore? How are we supposed to take them at their word? They deliberately blurred images to make certain political figures look more involved than the evidence actually showed. They've lied repeatedly. They've over-redacted documents. They've done everything possible to obstruct transparency and hide the truth. And when they release something like that prison video with the missing minute, we're just supposed to accept it at face value? How do we know it's real? How do we know it hasn't been edited or manipulated? I genuinely don't have an answer to that question. Everyone in Trump's orbit seems committed to preventing any discussion of Epstein. They're also blocking criticism of the administration more broadly. Look at TikTok under Larry Ellison, a major Trump supporter and donor. Users reportedly can't talk about Epstein. Conversations about Gaza get shut down. Minneapolis coverage has vanished. Everything is being systematically suppressed. That's exactly what Greene highlighted in her post about blocked messages on TikTok. She wrote on Twitter that she was one of the few Republicans who voted against the TikTok ban. Now that the platform has been sold, people are being censored for posting about Epstein and other sensitive topics. Users are abandoning the platform in massive numbers because speech restrictions have become worse than surveillance ever was. Her post included a screenshot of someone trying to send just the word Epstein in a direct message. It wouldn't go through. The error message said it might violate community guidelines and hadn't been sent to protect the community. Users could report it if they believed it was a mistake, but the message was blocked regardless. Greene is exposing what Trump desperately wants hidden. She's leaking blocked content because TikTok won't allow it through normal channels. You allegedly cannot say Jeffrey Epstein on TikTok anymore. His name has become forbidden. This kind of censorship exists across multiple platforms now. People have to create workarounds using coded language just to have basic conversations, unalived instead of killed, for example, because platforms censor the real words. But why would TikTok ban Epstein's name entirely? Why can't you even send that single word in a private message? That's what Greene wanted everyone to see and understand. His name is completely forbidden. Any connection between Trump and Epstein is totally blocked. You can't discuss it. You can't reference it. You can't even type the name. This was always the plan from the beginning. The real reason TikTok got sold had nothing to do with what we were told. It wasn't about China stealing our data. It wasn't about legitimate national security concerns or protecting Americans from foreign surveillance. Both Democrats and Republicans hated that people were discussing Gaza on the platform. They couldn't stand that users were learning about an ongoing genocide in real time. That's why the sale happened. That's the actual reason. The legislative push started under Biden's administration. The effort to force TikTok's sale happened while Biden was still in office. Under Trump's administration, the buyers were carefully selected to ensure they'd support authoritarian control and speech suppression. That's how we ended up here. But the original push to ban TikTok came from both parties wanting to hide what was happening in Gaza. That's the uncomfortable truth about Congress, the undeniable truth nobody wants to admit. Look where that's gotten us. When you cave to powerful lobbies, when you trust Republicans to handle platform ownership responsibly and act in good faith, this is the inevitable result. We can't even have honest conversations about basic facts anymore. That's a problem that extends far beyond any single platform. Trump obviously doesn't want us talking about Epstein. That much is crystal clear. But by trying so hard to silence the discussion, what's actually happening? We're all talking about Epstein even more than before. It won't stop. The pushback is growing. The trolling is intensifying. Rachel Maddow covered some of the public response to this censorship recently, and it's worth seeing.
It's also not the sitting president's birthday. That is in June. And yet, this was the National Mall in Washington, D.C. at the beginning of this week. A big greeting card, a big birthday card wishing a very happy birthday to a, quote, terrific guy. A guy whose birthday is Tuesday of this week. You may recognize the doodle on the right side of the card there. You may recognize it from this. This is the birthday note that President Donald Trump apparently gave to the late pedophile and child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein while they were very close friends. A note on which he or someone drew a silhouette of a female torso, and also wrote Jeffrey Epstein a poem wishing him another year full of wonderful secrets. Donald Trump denies ever having anything to do with this, despite something that very much looks like his signature at the bottom of it. He actually filed a defamation suit against the paper that first reported this. But Monday this week, a life-sized version of that popped up on this birthday card on the National Mall. It is the handiwork of an anonymous group in D.C. that has done things sort of like this before. This was the group that put up the statue of Trump and Epstein holding hands last year. Remember that? Their newest installment has a cool new feature. This one comes with free pens, Sharpies. Passersby are encouraged to sign the card if they had a message for Donald Trump, or I guess indeed for Jeffrey Epstein. The artists behind this also put out this filing cabinet overflowing with paper to represent the millions of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein that remain today inside the Justice Department's files, even though legally they should have all been released to the public by now. Congress, of course, passed a law to require DOJ to release all the Epstein files back in December. A full month after that deadline, the Trump administration still has not released the vast majority of its documents concerning Jeffrey Epstein, which again is something they are required to do by law. New CNN poll out today says the percentage of voters who approve of the amount of Epstein files that have been released by the Trump administration is 6%. Not 60, not 16, but rather 6%. Congress is also less than pleased that DOJ is ignoring the law that requires them to release the Epstein files. The two lead sponsors of the law that forces the release of the files, they've now written to a federal judge asking him to appoint a special master, essentially a special officer of the court, to legally compel DOJ to release the Epstein files, to compel them to comply with the law. Trump's Justice Department has asked the judge to deny this request. And who knows if they ever plan on releasing anything else against Epstein.
This topic needs more attention than ever. If they're trying to silence us, that's exactly what we should amplify. If they don't want us talking about something, that's probably the most important thing we should be discussing. I keep coming back to this point. We need to examine Trump's first term much more closely. What were Trump and Bill Barr actually doing back then? Barr had connections to Epstein that existed long before he became Attorney General. Those relationships predated the administration entirely, and that matters. That email from a U.S. attorney hasn't received nearly enough scrutiny. It reportedly flagged Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell together on a private plane. Just the two of them, no one else present. We need real answers about that flight. A lot happened during the first term that deserves serious investigation. We need to start asking much harder questions about all of it. Not softball interviews, actual accountability. Not vague deflections, real answers from people in power. This show will absolutely keep pushing for them. Thank you so much for the love and support. That milestone means everything, and we couldn't have done it without you. If you want to support this kind of independent coverage and help us keep doing it, make sure you're subscribed to National Affairs Media here on YouTube and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. If you made it this far and this video resonated with you, drop a blue heart in the comments. It helps more than you know. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to see it. And above all, keep fighting for truth. Don't let them silence you.